Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. Today's edition of Ask an Airstreamer is with Interstate 19 owner Christine Miller. Before introducing Christine, I want to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Chris, and in addition to being an Airstream owner myself, I get to work with members of the Airstream community, helping to share their stories of adventure, curiosity, and exploration in their Airstream. A few housekeeping items before we get started. Today's session is being recorded and will be published on airstream.com next week, alongside other editions of Ask an Airstreamer. In other words, don't worry about writing everything down. You'll receive an email to this video later next week. To submit your questions at any point today, go ahead and click the Q&A button at the bottom of this screen. We'll do our best to answer all of them, but if we run out of time, we'll share an email address at the end to submit your questions. After Q&A, we'll share a promo code for Airstream Supply Company, which is part magazine, part travel guide, and part outfitter. And lastly, there's a 2-question survey that will be emailed right after we wrap up today. We'd love your feedback so we can learn what you liked and things that we could do better in future editions. Let's take a look at what we're going to cover. First, we'll learn about Christine and her solo travels across America. We'll hear firsthand why she's chosen Airstream Interstate. She'll share some clever storage ideas and organizational tips to stay organized in a touring coach. She'll talk about some of her must-have gear, and we'll have Q&A at the end, as well as all throughout today's session. So Christine, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being part of the Airstream community. Tell us a little bit about where you are and a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Chris. I'm happy to be here today. Hi, I'm Christine, and I have a 2020 Airstream Interstate 19 4x4. I purchased it in September of 2019, so I've had it almost 2 years now. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I've been camping since I was 6 months old. My parents had 5 daughters, and my dad was a history teacher before he became a principal. So our summers were traveling and camping because it was affordable for us. And so our summer trips became mini history living lessons. So as I grew older, I got married, I had 3 children, and we continued to travel and we continued to explore this beautiful country. As time passed, my kids grew up and moved to all different parts of the country. I found myself as a solo traveler, and I decided that the interstate was the right vehicle for me to travel, see the world, and go visit family and friends.
I love the discussion today because you have so much experience and exposure to different types of RVs, which is a perfect segue into my next question. Why specifically, I'll break this into 2 parts. Why specifically a Class B, this size motorhome? And then more specifically, why an Airstream Interstate?
So yes, I have owned a variety of RVs. I've had a pop-up tent camper, a travel trailer, a Class C motorhome, a Class A motorhome that towed a Jeep. And through that experience of all of those different types of RVs, I wanted something that was going to be a quality made product that would be sustainable for daily use. And Airstream is a quality build product. It's also certified green build. And that was really important to me when I was searching for an RV, because it doesn't have any chemicals or materials in the build that could be dangerous to your health. It's also a versatile vehicle. It has all of the luxuries that I would like to continue to have as I travel, but it's also a 19-foot package. The 144-inch wheelbase allows me to go anywhere, park anywhere, and explore many places. The 4-wheel drive is an added bonus to that.
To give folks a sense, you've had the vehicle now for 2 years. Give us a sense of just your travel profile. How many days, how many nights a year do you think you're spending in the interstate? And then how many miles have you put on it so far?
So when I initially got it, I still had a sticks and bricks home. And since then, I've gone full time. So I've been full time for just over a year now. So I'm in it every day and I use it every day. And I travel, my travel is varied. I just retired in November. So I'm going to be traveling in different parts of the country some of the year, and then I'll stay put on the East Coast in some of the camping membership resorts that I stay in so that I can keep a budget, because my membership campground allows me to camp without paying for camping nightly fees. I just pay a one-time membership dues per year for that. And so I have reservations actually booked from May through October, and all of that camping is free. And then the other times of the year, I travel up into 28 states now in the last 2 years with it.
I know we'll talk about how you do it and your approach to travel in a little bit. One quick call out on the green certification. Your Interstate is indeed certified green from the TRA certification board, as is all Airstream. So the travel trailers and touring coach all fit that qualification as well. So Christine, tell us a little bit about your most favorite things about traveling in this vehicle.
So I find that traveling in the Airstream is it's got such a wonderful, comfortable feel of home to it. And as you can see in some of the photos that we're sharing on your screen, you can see how I've made some changes to it. It's great for the durable diesel engine. It gets 18 to 20 miles per gallon, which is for this type of travel in an RV is exceptional. It has many added safety features. So Airstream purchases special Sprinter chassis that have added safety features to it that not all of them do. It has adjustable heated seats. It has a backup camera. It has sensors. So it's got a lot of things in the chassis that they build upon that maybe some other basic Sprinters do not have.
It's a great point. Is a lot of without a doubt there are a handful of folks who are with us today who are on their journey to figure out what to purchase, and I think that's really great advice where things might be seemingly similar on the outside when you're looking at different RVs that are built on the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter platform, but understanding some of the underlying options that come as standard versus either not existing at all or optional add-ons. So great point there. There's a word that comes up a lot when we speak to members of the Airstream community, and it's this word freedom. And I would love for you to just talk a little bit about what that means for you.
Yes, the Airstream gives me the freedom to go any place that I would like to explore. So I've traveled to cities, and I've traveled to the countryside and the mountains and the beaches. And with the four-wheel drive especially, it allows me to feel safe to travel and explore some of those areas. It's got a versatile 19-foot length. I even was able to parallel park it in Yellowstone National Park back in June this year, and I had absolutely no problem. So it's kind of a nice all-around vehicle to get you where you want to go.
How much, when I think of, and one of the things, and this is just me projecting a bit about what I love about this Sprinter platform, is that you have the ability to easily drive it in a city and in urban environments, right? So you can explore those too. Do you do that often, and is it easy to drive around a large city in the interstate?
I prefer the country. I don't really like a lot of traffic, but it's really nice to know that I can take it and park it in the cities. And I have, because there are a lot of cities that I like to travel to and spend time in, as well as going out to the mountains and some quieter locations. But the other thing that it allows me is, because I can go to all these places, I get to spend some time exploring the creative side of myself too. So I like to play the ukulele. I'm currently writing a book, and so it gives me the nice, comfortable, spacious feeling, either indoors or in the outdoor setup that you can see pictured here that I have at one of the campsites I was at to do those things, explore those things.
When you're inside the vehicle, not driving, where do you find yourself spending the most time?
I really like the back area of the van. So, it depends on what activity I'm doing. So if I am cooking, obviously I'm up in the galley area, but it's a really comfortable space in the back to sit, and all of the windows allow me a view of the outside. So it almost feels like you're outside, even though you're inside when you need to be. I spend a lot of time outside though, unless the weather doesn't cooperate.
The outdoors is your backyard. So much of the Airstream experience, if it's in a touring coach or a travel trailer, is not just the destination, right? It's the whole journey of getting there and the surprise stops along the way. So I'd love for you to talk about what the driving experience is like, especially comparing it to some of the bigger motorhomes that you've driven previously.
Yeah, I absolutely love driving the interstate, the Sprinter van. It's just gives me a full view of the road. When I'm sitting up in the captain's chair, I can look ahead in traffic and see what's happening and make any necessary adjustments that I need to make. The seats are really comfortable. It has just a nice, powerful engine that it makes you have a sense of confidence as you're going down the road with where you want it to go.
One of the great options, and I know that you don't take advantage of this yet, except for towing some bicycles or a bicycle rack that's in the hitch receiver, but is the versatility of the platform and the fact that you can tow 5,000 pounds behind the Sprinter. So there's an Airstream ambassador. We actually did an Ask an Airstreamer with them. We can drop the link in the chat, but they actually tow a Caravelle with their Sprinter, and that's like their expandable housing situation for their family as they go out and about and explore. Tell us a little bit though, from a driving standpoint, I see the image of your adorable dog sitting on your lap there. How long do you drive in a day? What's the typical sense of either miles or time spent driving before you call it quits for the day?
Yeah, so a lot of times it'll depend on where I'm headed. If I have a destination that I have to get to, I might drive more. But typically, I don't like to drive more than 200 miles a day, 3-4 hours. And with the dog, that's my little Roxy, the co-pilot. So I'm mindful of her needs as well. And I feel that, if whatever she can tolerate is what I'll tolerate. And so that's about how far we drive each day.
Awesome. This next slide, there will be a question that Victoria dropped in the chat that we'll build onto this slide. But one of the most, I think, exciting things about this type of lifestyle is the planning piece of it, right? The dreaming where you're going to go next. And there's so many great tools out there to make that process easier and fun. So walk us through, I guess, your approach to planning and then some of the apps that we see on the screen here.
So as I said, it's just been one full year now. So I'm figuring out what works best for me and for my limited income budget. So these are some apps that I found really handy. And depending on the type of travel I'm doing, I'll use a different app. So for instance, if I'm staying within my camping membership, which is the 1,000 Trails camping membership, I'll use their app to locate campgrounds in different zones. And you can see where the dots are that locate the different resorts. And then if I am on the road traveling from point A to point B or going across the country, if I'm in a hurry or want to stay on the highway, I use KOA a lot. They're convenient and they're right off the road. They're not as inexpensive as some of the other options, but they are very convenient. And I also use Harvest Host for times where I would like to, visit some of their wineries and farms and breweries and things like that. And it's a one-night stay only for that. And it is a membership, but it's not very expensive to join. And then some of the other ones, like Campendium, I'll use that one when I'm looking for some place, maybe at lunchtime, I'm halfway through my day's drive, because I really don't plan ahead with an itinerary. I like to just stop where I feel like it or stay a few days if I find a place that I want to explore a little bit more. And so some of those apps will allow me to look ahead at lunchtime and see what's coming up. And they're really great because some of them will give you some details about the location, what size RV will fit, if it costs money, if it's free, and the location and some other details.
I love the user-generated reviews section. I use Campendium a lot as well. It's also helpful for folks who might want to work or even do some road schooling and remote schooling. They also have cell phone reviews, so planning ahead and knowing if you'll actually have connectivity before you get there is also a great resource. So a couple questions that have come in on the chat.
Sure.
Jenny wants to know about how many days a year or how often are you boondocking or dry camping? So on public land, no connection or services, just out enjoying, usually free camping.
Well, I would say that I'm going to explore more of that this year because I've made some upgrades to the van that will make it more capable to do that. I have spent, when I went out to Colorado, I spent about 5 days off grid in Telluride at their camp park town campground. And so I found that I was able to manage before the upgrade to the batteries that I did just fine with some of the adjustments I made. And so I would probably say at this point about 30 days off grid so far, but I'm hoping to improve that and add to that now in the future.
Awesome. And I love it too, because most of the time it's no reservations, and now it can be tough to find a campground, especially peak of summer and so many people out enjoying RVs. So I love that. Couple more questions here. Michelle wants to know just a little bit about the Airstream community, right? You're not just buying a vehicle, you're now part of this community. Describe it a little bit, and then she wants to know specifically, is it a helpful group when you think about the community that surrounds the product?
I have found the Airstream group on Facebook, especially Airstream Interstate 19 group, to be extremely supportive and helpful and fun to be a part of. I've made a couple of really good friends, and we've not met yet in person. I'd like to someday, but they've been really helpful and supportive. And I think it's a wonderful community, and I would suggest that you look into that if you are interested in learning more about the Airstream Interstates.
Awesome. And then one more question before we move to the next slide. Victoria wants to know a little bit more about the camping membership. So the two that stand out to me on this slide would be Thousand Trails and Harvest Host. Can you give us a quick synopsis of how those works and how those two programs work, and then what their cost is?
Sure. So I'm not quite sure of what the cost will be for Harvest Host next year. I think I paid $70 for the year, close to that. And then when you use it, you locate one of their Harvest hosts, and then you can call ahead and set up for that night. And it's usually expected that you either spend $20 on products or donate $20 for that one night stay. With Thousand Trails, it's a membership I've actually had for over 20 years. And so I pay a yearly dues, and with different memberships, you would really need to look into that, which one you would pick, which would be right for you. They have different zones and they have different campgrounds in those zones. So I actually have the whole country from coast to coast, but you can just choose one particular zone if that's all you wanted. And then I'm able to make a reservation, like I made my reservations last October for this spring and summer and fall. And I can stay for up to 3 weeks in my zone area, my primary zone area, in one campground. And then I have to leave for a week. But then when I leave for that week, I can go to another one of their campgrounds. So I'm booked back to back for 5 months. And there's no cost beyond my membership dues, which I pay $900 for the year.
Awesome. It seems like it's pretty easy to get the value out of that investment. So being a full-timer and basically this is your home and it's a small space, staying organized and storing things, some folks might look at this as a very challenging thing. You've looked at it and said, actually, this is wonderful and great and enjoyable. So walk us through the thoughtfulness and great work that you've done on this slide and how folks can do it too.
Sure. Thank you very much for that. So as you see in some of the pictures, in picture number 1, that's the back upper locker cabinet. There are 2 of those in the back of the van, one on each side. And inside I use a felt storage basket. These are from IKEA. They're Puda baskets, and they work great for storing all of my clothes. On one side, I have all of my summer clothes stored, and on the opposite side, I have all of my winter clothes. And I roll them up like a tube and stick them all in so I can just look in the top of the basket and see what I would like that day. In the next picture, this is where I store my leveling blocks. So this is underneath the passenger seat rug. And I found this from a YouTuber. I watch a lot of YouTube videos to find some of these. They're not all mine created. I have shared them because somebody shared them with me. And this was from a YouTuber from She to Me, and she has a Class B. And so she had some videos of van tours. And this is where I found that tip. And it's a great place because the back storage garage isn't really a big space for something like that. And the next photo, number 3, this is over the bathroom door. It's from another RV I had. It hangs over the door, and then it's got the little basket where I keep my bath towels. And so you'll see those 2 little tube containers. Each of those contains 3 bath towels in it, and they are by Olympia Fit, and I found those online, and they're just quick drying towels that are handy and don't take up much space. And the door on number 4 is the driver's side door, and then I have another on the passenger side door with lots of items stored. And so you can see it's handy to keep fuses, gloves. I have a 1-pound container for propane for my outside Coleman stove there as well. It's a great little cup holder or propane bottle holder. In the back, you'll see number 5 is the garage, and I have storage containers that I found that fit in there. And then above the containers in the middle, I have a table, folding table, that's by GCI, and then my rug for outdoors. And I also have room on the sides. I've added to this, it's not in the picture, I have a toolbox, I have a My Buddy heater, and I have a sleeping bag and some other small items. And the next one you can see over the back, the seat organizer. This is a really great one. It's also from the YouTuber, from She to Me. She has one of these. And I find it handy to hold a lot of items behind the passenger seat there. And the last one is the headliner of the van up front is cloth. And so these are cargo nets with Velcro that attach there. And then inside each of the cargo nets, I purchased Eagle Creek size small little storage packs that just fit in each one. So I have all different items from my hammock to medicine chest, some jackets, water filter system for hiking, things like that, stored in all of those packets.
If we're doing an infomercial, this would fit appropriately, I would say, but wait, there's more on the next slide. But before I do that, I know that for the items that you've shared links to, we're going to drop those in the chat. So if anyone is interested in copying what you've done, they'll have the right resources. And a quick disclaimer, Airstream or Christine, we do not have a commercial relationship with any of the links that we're going to post. These are just things that we've found helpful along the way. So hope you find them helpful too. So just a couple more here. Tips to stay organized. Walk us through 8 through 12.
Thanks, sure. So number 8 is a picture of the back of the Interstate with the doors open, and the screen is actually, you can see how it comes down to provide you airflow. And then I have some storage in the back door pockets there. I keep things like my adapter for the electric cord and some cleaners for the van. And number 9, you can just see how I have little storage rack next to the bed. This is when the couch is down, made into a bed. And then I have like a little nightlight clip there, and it holds my phone. And I have a little hat hanging in the back on a hook. Both the curtains and the hat hook I found from another YouTuber, Irene Iron Travels. And so they had these in their van, and I love the idea, and I borrowed it. The next picture you'll see on the right is inside the bathroom. So inside the bathroom of the Interstate on the left-hand side, there's a little area of the wall. And I have a Hasco, a suction cup hook there. And then I just bought a little 3-tiered storage organizer for some things to get them up out of the way. In number 10, I have used the space on the panel above the back screen for Velcroing up my hiking sticks and the pole that holds the brush for cleaning the van. And so they've stayed up there with that little Velcro strip for 2 years now, and I'm crossing my fingers because it's a great spot to put something like that. And then in number 11, you can see that I have some things there on the wall. I have attached an adhesive metal strip that's actually for holding knives, and I put some magnetic spice rack there. So those are each magnetized spice holders. And then I used some Velcro to hold up a basket. You know, you always need some little things like that when you're camping for putting extra things in, and it gets it up out of the way, and it's decorative as well. The little hook is a command hook holding the keys. I found that it's important to keep the key fob away from the front of the cab of the vehicle and towards the back. And I also keep the front doors locked so that I can let the engine chassis portion of the van go into sleep mode and not deplete the chassis battery. So these are just some of the things that I found that were functional and helpful. Hope it helps you.
Perfect. So we've talked about planning and some tools to do that. You've walked us through your very thoughtful and thorough organizing approach, which I think is important. Just a quick question here. Is there that one thing that you're like, man, if I just had a little bit more space, I could just have this one thing? Like, do you miss anything? Or have you really focused on like, this is really all I need and I'm fine?
Don't think there's anything that I really wish I had. I do like to do things outdoors, like maybe a blow up kayak or something like that. And I had considered putting a storage box on one of the back doors, but I haven't found quite the need yet. I have a lot of friends that I just go visit and borrow theirs.
Perfect. Perfect. There were some questions that came in on the chat. Specifically, you mentioned boondocking, and you teased out the idea that you made some enhancements and modifications to be able to do that a bit more. So tell us a little bit about how it started when you drove it off the lot, where you are today, and what some of those benefits are.
Sure. So when I purchased the Interstate, it came with 250 watts of solar on the roof, two 100-watt AGM batteries, really designed as a luxury RV that was meant to be plugged in to use all of those amenities like the TV, the refrigerator, the microwave, and such. And I knew that when I bought it, and I really love those features about it. And then after I moved into it and I was living in it full time, I realized there were times I wouldn't be able to plug in every night, and therefore the batteries weren't capable of running some of the things that I wanted. And so I decided to upgrade to lithium. So I upgraded to the two 100-watt Battleborn lithium batteries with all Victron components. And I also had them add a port that I could plug in an external solar panel to. So when you have the van, the 250 watts on the roof, 50 of it is designated toward the chassis battery and 200 of it is designated toward the house batteries. So the 200 watts of the solar panel you can see in the middle picture, that will also, in addition, charge the house batteries with a total of 400 watts possible on a perfect day. And so I found that this worked for me a little bit better as my needs changed and the places that I wanted to go changed.
Couple questions, and we can drop a link to the Airstream Power Pro. It's Power Pro or Power Plus, but it's the lithium drop-in lithium upgrade that Airstream offers. It's been pre-engineered at the factory. Couple questions as it relates to being kind of off-grid and boondocking. How useful have you found the four-wheel drive in your Interstate? Have you used it and taken advantage of it? Has it been helpful?
Well, I'm looking forward to using it a little bit more as I explore some of the BLM land and the National Forest land. I'll be heading west again and southwest for the winter this year to stay out in some warm climates. But I'm a little afraid of snow, so I don't think I'll be testing it out. My daughter wants me to come to Colorado in the winter, and we'll see if I get there, if I can get the courage to go for it. But I feel that I have used it actually to get out of some sand, and it's just an amazing addition to feeling, especially as a solo traveler, that confidence that I can get myself out of situations.
Prasad wants to know, in terms of the ride, and maybe answer this in two parts. One, on the road or bumpy roads, or even if you're on a forest road that might be not that well maintained, how is the ride in general? And have you made any modifications to the shocks or springs for a better ride, or what's that been like?
The ride is just as smooth as can be, and I haven't found the need to do any upgrades to any of the undercarriage. So if you're on a bumpy road, it's advisable that you simply slow down your speed to accommodate the conditions, and that's what I do. Some of the campgrounds I've been in, and some of the BLM land I tried to explore. I went up a mountain road. It's a little sketchy, and was glad when I got to the top and could turn around and go back down. But I haven't had the need to do any upgrades there.
So you've taken it off of off the pavement. You've gone up some BLM.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
All Perfect. That was Charles's question. He was
with
curious.
with no guardrails on the side.
Oh yeah, nice little drop off the side. Some just living questions here. Kim wants to know, how do you manage and take care of laundry when you're out on the road? What's that look like?
So I have a couple of different things that I do. I run every day, so I run between 3 and 6 miles a morning, and so I have a little trash can that I fill with warm water and laundry soap, and I'll just put my running clothes in there and then rinse them and hang them. But I use a laundromat. It works for me. It's actually, I have a lot of friends that offer for me to use their washing machine, and I find that it's just easier to go to a laundromat, throw it all in, get done in an hour, and I'm out.
All right, perfect. And then Ken wants to know, have you ever had an issue with not having a spare tire?
No, and please don't jinx me. I've been researching getting a carrier for the back door. Unfortunately, some of them I found interfere with the sensor. And so when you put it to your vehicle in reverse, it feels as though, or it thinks that, there's something in the way. And I don't like that sensor coming on unless it's supposed to come on because there's a tree behind me that I'm going to hit. So I have not done that. And I'm in that category of, I might get stuck someday. It would be nice to have one, even if somebody came along and helped me. But the coach is so heavy. Honestly, I've changed tires, but I'm not changing a tire on this. I have RV roadside service.
All right, final question before we talk about your approach to traveling solo. Deborah wants to know, you talked about camping in the winter a little bit. Have you used the tank heaters before? How have they worked? What's the experience been like?
I have. So last winter I headed toward Florida. I got as far as South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, and headed back north because of family reasons. And I ended up spending almost the rest of the winter from the end of January through April in the Delaware State Parks because they're open year round. So I had the van winterized. And so I had used that as a dry camper for 3.5 months with no water, no toilet flushing, and lived that way with it and had it, no problems. I've also been in temperatures where I've traveled through some colder weather and the tank heaters were no problem. It's really pretty insulated. And if you have the tank heaters on and you check your water, I don't plug into the post if I'm at a campground either. I've been in cold temperatures in a campsite and the water line will freeze from the post to the van, but the van didn't freeze. Good background and experience there. Just actually one more question because it relates to the slide before we move on. Barry has a question around the upgrades you did. So you talked a lot about upgrading the batteries from AGM to lithium. Did you increase the amount of solar on the roof or you kept that the same? The roof on the Interstate 19 doesn't really have any more space unless I extend it beyond the sides of the van. So I only have the 200 soft panels, 100-watt soft panels that came on it. But adding that 200, so what you see in the picture on the screen is the Blue Eddy foldable, portable 200-watt solar panel. And that has really been a game changer. You'll see on the left, the actual power system that it also charges is the Blue Eddy EB70. And that can charge various ways, just like my house batteries, through plugging it in, through solar, through a cigarette lighter, and various ways of just a house plug. So this has been a really good support system for me for all my electronics when I'm boondocking. I'll plug in everything that I have that's USB, like my night lights and my phone and things like that, instead of using the Coach house batteries, which I designate simply to keeping the 12-volt refrigerator running.
Got it. Okay, so lots of ways, some redundancies built in there, some flexibility in terms of how you can charge these different power sources. Let's talk a little bit about your approach to being out there by yourself and some of the things that you do to be safe.
Yeah, I really don't, to be honest, have a fear of traveling solo, but I think that my advice would be to just use common sense and listen to your intuition. So, you might not want to tell every stranger that comes along you're a solo traveler. And in some of the different YouTube videos I've watched of some other solo travelers, they had some tips. So you can see pictured here some of the things that I do. I always put out 2 chairs. If somebody's just walking by and they see 2 chairs, they really don't know if it's 1 person in there or 2 people. And then I always keep a pair of men's shoes outside the door so that it appears as though there's also more than 1 person. And it works out really well. There's a dog's leash. Of course, I have a cute little pug. It's not going to hurt anybody, but they don't know that, because, the dog's inside or out for a walk. So some of them are just deterrents, but I really don't have a fear. On the left, you can see some of the items I do keep because, not everybody is trustworthy in this whole world, but most of the people I've found have just been extremely wonderful and friendly. But I keep bear spray. That's the red canister with the black top there. And I keep that right inside the sliding door on that over the back of the seat organizer in a pocket. So it's handy, right? If I open that slide screen door, I can grab it. Or if I'm inside, I can grab it. And then the axe, I keep that in the back of the van. If I were to open the back doors, it's right there. And I also have the ability to reach down from inside the van in the bed if I was inside to get to the axe. Up in the driver's seat in the cockpit area, I keep mace, and I also keep a pocket knife in the side door, just so that I have things handy if you need them. You never know.
Love the preparation that goes into it. So Mark wants to know specifically, number 1, where do you store those chairs when you're driving?
So those chairs, they fold down to, you can see the little zipper pockets. They're actually Velcroed at the top there with the little handles on the chair. And the top of the chair is about the size of the bag. And they roll up, and those posts fold up right inside that little Ziploc storage bag. And I store them behind the driver's seat. I have a lot of things behind the driver's seat. There was a YouTube video done of a tour of my van. And so if they were interested in some of the places beyond these pictures of where I put things, that might be a great place for them to go check things out.
The great suggestion, and it's easy to find because it's the one with about 2 million views, right?
That's crazy, isn't it?
It really is.
I'm just a girl from New Jersey.
Speaking of videos, we also dropped a link to it was actually our first episode of Ask an Airstreamer with Andre Umbach, who's also a solo traveler. So a lot of similarities in terms of what you just shared and what Andre has shared. So folks wanting to learn more about that, check out that link. What are some of the modifications that you've made to make this Interstate 19 specifically yours?
Yeah, so, I think it's really important for anyone who has their RV to make the space feel like home to them and home away from home if you just take vacations in it. But this is my home. And so I did want to make some changes. And in the top picture, you'll see that I have room darkening curtains. I made them for all of the side windows. So this is the back side. And then at the bottom, you can see with the curtains closed. And then the bottom right, you can see that's the sliding door where I as well was able to put those in. And those are just a room darkening curtain that was shortened. And there's a tension rod, curtain rod, that just fits right nicely into the window box that the Airstream has built. Now the power shades are still intact in the van. I've just pulled the fuses because I no longer use them. And I found that I'd like to just pull the curtains at night. There was a really great tip, and this was another YouTuber. I found these, and it made it so simple to just get them because it worked perfect. And they are the ones that have the YouTube channel, Irene Iron Travels. They had these in their Interstate, and I just loved the idea, and they even had the links, so that was great. And then I also added this Reflectix windshield cover. The one that came with the van, just for me personally, it seemed a little bulky. I couldn't get it to stay in place right. And so I just got a really lightweight, I try to go lightweight with everything. And so this is just a really lightweight Reflectix Sprinter custom made windshield cover. I still use the ones that came with the van for the side front windows.
Couple questions coming in and a little bit related to the slide, but also a little bit outside of it too. One is, so you mentioned the gear storage. You have the video that we can look at there. Do you ever use the inside of the van to store stuff while you're in motion, or is everything kind of away and you can walk around freely?
I try to keep it free of anything. I have this desire to get maybe a little scooter or e-bike, and I don't really want to put it on the back sometimes because they get stolen, but I haven't done that yet. But in the bathroom, I do use that space. I have a Berkey water filter that I take down off the counter, and I store it in the bathroom on top of the bamboo floor mat, because sometimes a Berkey valve can open and leak water, and you're already in the bathroom. There's a tank to hold it, so it's a really handy place to store something like that.
Pat wants to know, in terms of the bed, how comfortable it is, and are you using any extra kind of mattress pads or anything to make it even more comfortable?
Sure, and there'll be a picture for him coming up, but I have 2 self-inflating camping mattresses made by Kilty, and they just go on top of the bed. Now, being solo, when I'm solo, I just use one of them. So the bed will go down, and I just close one ottoman, and then I put the self-inflating camping mattress on it, and I make it up like a bed. So I'll put a mattress pad, I'll put my sheets and my quilt, and it's super comfortable. I don't think I've had any better night of sleep than I have when I'm in my nice little cocoon here.
I'm going to put you on the spot. You make your bed every day?
So no, because it depends on the weather. If I have to be inside, I will make it up to a couch, and it depends on if I'm having company as well. But most of the time I'll leave it down in a bed because I still have the aisle to walk down, because I only close one of the ottomans. If there's 2 people, when I have my boyfriend travel with me, then both ottomans close. And so I'll use both of the camping mattresses, make it same sheets. I just fold them under, I pull them out and cover it and make a queen size bed.
Great. One more storage question before we talk about some of the gear that you take with you. Where do you store the shore power cord, the water hose, all of the kind of utility connections? Where did those go?
Yes. So I found that I have some storage containers you'll see coming up in the garage, and they were from the Container Store. I went and measured, and they fit perfectly. I have 3 large rectangular ones and 2 shoe size box ones. In one of the rectangular ones, I keep all of my water hookups, my hose for the outdoor shower, my extra water hose for attaching to city water, and things like that. And then in one of the other larger rectangular ones, I keep all of my electrical adapters. I have 2 30-amp cords because sometimes you get somewhere set up and you don't reach at a campsite. So I have 2, and I have put those in another one. The electric cord that I use every day, I just wrap it with a Velcro Rapid Secure attachment, and I just stick it inside the back door. That's the last thing that comes in and first thing that comes out. So I keep it handy right there.
This next slide is one of my favorite ones, because I usually always end up buying something whenever we do these. I'm like, I didn't know about that. I'm going to go buy that. So walk us through, we have 2 slides of this. This first one, walk us through this first slide of some of your gear that's made it easier and more enjoyable.
Sure. Some of these are must-haves for me. Like the first one, top left, is the Berkey water filter. This is the travel Berkey, and this allows me the confidence to know that no matter what happens, wherever I have to get water from whatever source, I can filter it, and this purifies it and allows it to be safe to drink. It's different from just a pitcher type of water filter. This is a purifier. And in the middle there, these are motion sensor lights, and I found these from another van lifer, Van City Van Life, and he has these in his drawers. I put them in my cabinets, in my drawers. I put them in the bathroom when I shut the house batteries down when I'm boondocking before I got the lithium. And so when you go in the bathroom, the sensor light usually comes on, but when the battery's off, it didn't. So I put one of these in there and it would come on, and it's great, just enough light for everything. On the far right, I had custom window covers made for the 2 back windows. And these were from vanmadegear.com. They are just a small company. They live and work out of their van, and they made a really high top quality insulated perfect custom fit for my Sprinter windows in the back. And the bottom left, I already talked about this. This is just a metal strip that has adhesive on the back that can stick to the wall, and it's magnetized, and those are spices. And the next one, these are the towels I talked about earlier, the Olympia Fit microfiber quick drying towels. And the next picture is some of my favorite items. Okay, so these are 2 little night lights. And these have 3 different settings for the lighting that you might choose. and they work great. I clip them everywhere. I clip them next to the bed or by the front doors. This is in the middle is a little lantern by Goal Zero, and I use that. It's USB rechargeable. All of these are. And then the fan, Ocular fans are great. I want to actually get another one because they really do the job. They recharge over and over with USB, and they're handy. Oh, and for the gentleman that was asking about the chairs, here are the Helinox chairs that you saw set up, and those are the little storage sacks that fit nicely behind the driver's seat.
All right, round two.
Okay, this is the camping mattress. See, I have two of these that's made by Kelty. And then you can see, I talked about doing some laundry myself in the van. And this is a really handy hook that I found in a camping store, but I know they're available online. So it's a shepherd's crook that just folds up. And these are octopuses from IKEA. And I have two of these. And I just open them up, hang out my laundry, and works, and it's functional. The cutting board that you see, actually, my son made that for me, my son Tim. And I absolutely love it. I use it. It's versatile. I keep it. That's on the stove with the stove top open to have a surface space to work. I also use it on the bed at night for a night table for a cup of tea. And I also use it over. I keep the insert for the sink off, and I'll put this across the sink halfway. So I can still use the sink with the faucet draining into the drain. But I still have some surface there. And that's where I keep my Berkey water filter.
So spending some time in the kitchen, you showed some pictures of the galley there. Talk us and give us some tips on cooking in small spaces.
Yeah, I like to keep things simple and healthy. And so I like to keep things light for, what I pack and travel with. So I have collapsible bowls. I have a collapsible handle fry pan, as you see pictured, and I have a cast iron fry pan, and that suits all my needs. I have two stackable Sea to Summit saucepans, and that's really all I need. I think you see one of them pictured in the bottom right. So I have a favorite go-to meal, and it's pictured on the bottom right. This is a vegetable stir fry. And so I just chop up any vegetables I have, peppers, onions, broccoli. And I like to use fresh seasoning. So I have fresh grated ginger, turmeric, garlic, soy sauce, and I put it over brown rice, and it's a delicious meal. You can see on the bottom left, that's my co-pilot Roxy, who decided to help me cook some burgers. Those are Impossible veggie burgers.
Delicious. It's a good thing I already ate lunch. Some people look at, could look at solo travel as, potentially lonely, or they could look at, being in a smaller vehicle as, the inability to travel with a large group of people, but you have found things to be different than that. So tell us what the experience has been meeting up with friends and family on the road.
Sure. Yeah. And it's so true. Just because you're solo travel doesn't mean you're alone or that you're lonely. I have found some of the most fantastic times of my life since I've moved into the van, and I've done the traveling to go and see them and visit. And so, you can see pictured up on the top left is my boyfriend. And that's a Thanksgiving dinner that we cooked and shared last November. And on the far right is my son, Tim. He at the time lived in Portland, Oregon. That's his wife, Maggie. So I was able to travel and visit them. Down on the bottom left is my son, Mike, and his wife, Trisha, and they live in Arizona. And then my daughter in the next picture with her boyfriend, Dave, live in Telluride, Colorado. And then again on the right is another picture of Mike and my daughter, Shannon, in Colorado. So, if you're alone, it doesn't mean that you're lonely. I've really enjoyed my time traveling and going to see them. It's been great.
It seems like the van serves as a catalyst to connect with them, right? You're going to these experiences or these destinations, you want to share it with them. So probably even more so than if you were in your sticks and bricks, right? You weren't out and about. Speaking of staying connected to people, a couple questions in the chat around staying connected digitally and to the internet. So what are you using now for your connection to the internet, and any tips that you might share on that topic?
Well, I don't have a great need for internet because I don't have to run a business or stay connected. So I only have a small Verizon has a little Orbit Wi-Fi box, and I have a limited amount of data for when I need it, which is coming in handy today. And so, so I have that, but I like being off grid and disconnected a little bit from social media and things like that from time to time too. So
Sure.
I don't have a whole lot in that area.
I can build on that a little bit just because I know some of the technical details of what Airstream's working on. I know that today, all of the touring coaches sold are pre-installed with an external antenna for Wi-Fi, for cellular and Wi-Fi. And that's designed, the antenna will work almost with any router, but it's specifically designed to work with Airstream connected, which will also work with any cellular carrier. So it's unlocked. The advantage there, I think, is primarily around the fact that you have an external antenna on the roof. So from a reception standpoint, if you're on the fringes of coverage, you get a little bit better performance than you would on your phone. So just for people looking at that, we can drop a link in the chat with some more background.
Yeah, that's a great point. I actually do have a WeBoost that I put on because it allowed me to just boost my signal for the services that I chose to use. Perfect.
So I'm going to bounce around with some different questions. I know we have a couple more slides, so these aren't in a themed grouping or order, so apologize for that. Charles wants to know, what bike rack do you have? What did you end up putting on the hitch receiver on the back?
Yeah, so I got the Thule, and it's a very sturdy bike rack, and the bikes just sit right in it, and the arm comes up and secures the bike, and it's easy for me to handle and get the bikes on and off.
Awesome. Nancy wants to know, are the rear doors on an Airstream Interstate 19, can they serve as an emergency exit? For example, can you open the rear doors from the inside in the event that you needed to get out from the inside through the back?
Yes, to answer that, both the back doors, which I can release and open, and the sliding door have an indoor release if it was locked for emergency exits.
Great. You might not know the answer to this question because I don't know if you've had any young kids in the car and baby or car seats recently, but Nancy also wants to know, she says they have a baby in a car seat. Is the rear bench seat bolted to the chassis of the Sprinter van? In some RVs, the seats are only attached to the floor, which would not be a safe option. Do you have any knowledge or insight on that topic?
Well, I'm hoping for grandchildren soon, but I don't have any yet. But from my knowledge of what I've done in the back garage, the couch is bolted to the structure of the van, and it does have authorized street legal safety seat belts with both the shoulder strap and the lap belt.
Great. Greg wants to know, he'd like to know your experience with any engine issues. If you had any issues or needed any service work, has finding a Mercedes dealer to work on issues been hard to find? Have you had any issues finding the right diesel fuel while you're traveling? So 3 questions packed into one there, but what's your experience been specifically on the Mercedes-Benz side of things?
The Mercedes-Benz engine has been wonderful. When I first got the van, within a couple hundred miles, I had a warning light come on for coolant, and I just drove, we need to go to a Sprinter dealership for Mercedes. I just went to the car dealership. I barely could fit in their parking lot. And I just pulled up to the front of the garage and I said, my light came on. I just bought this. The guy came out and it just had some sort of a bubble in the system. He topped it off, and it's been fine ever since. I have, over 21,000 miles on it. Knock wood, please. Don't want any problems, but it's a great engine and I haven't had trouble. And then to answer the second part of that, could you refresh me, Chris? What was the?
Sure. The second part of the question was just around fuel and finding premium diesel or the right diesel fuel on the road.
Right. So, that's another reason why the Airstream Interstate 19 Facebook page is wonderful, because there are people who can just shoot a question on there. Hey, this is where I live and where can I get diesel? And then I might not have asked the question, but reading the feed, I've learned over time where you can get it, at Costco and things like that. And I've also learned people have posted really helpful articles on what type of diesel Mercedes-Benz recommends that you use. So it's a learning process, and it's really nice because you really get to know your vehicle and the RV.
Perfect. You've had 21,000 miles on the road, a couple of years at it now, transition to full time. What are some of the lessons that you've learned along the way?
Oh, let's see. I really think that it's important to just go with the flow sometimes. I think that, some of my best and most interesting places I found were by mistake. And it's great to have a plan. It's great to have things that you expect to go do, but don't lose sight of enjoying the journey to get there instead of just focusing on the destination. Allow yourself to just be in the moment and enjoy your time outdoors and some of the beautiful places that we have in this country and historical locations. And some of the really interesting sites along the side of the road. I've stopped many times because I said, what was that? And I'll go back and I'll check it out, take some time.
And if you had to distill that down to one piece of advice that you would love to impart to the folks who are listening today, what would it be?
I think you should enjoy your Airstream and use it as much as you can. If you're getting one new, videotape your delivery so you can go back and look at new systems or systems that are different than you're used to. Beware, this is a moving house on wheels. There will be things that go wrong. There will be things that need to be fixed. If you can't fix them, just be reassured somebody else can. This is one of the top quality built RVs I've ever owned, and I am so happy with it. And I use this thing every day, and it is, going 21,000 miles through all kinds of terrain has held up just wonderful. It's not without things that have to be fixed here or there. So don't be under the impression that you're going to buy an RV and that you're going to have nothing ever wrong with it. It's really fun to get to know your RV too by learning about how things work, and just get out there and enjoy it, and go places and have a good time.
Someone once told me if you're not breaking something, Chris, you're not using it right. Not that you should go out and intentionally break stuff, but going out and using it and enjoying it is, things will go wrong. But
you have to be flexible. Definitely be flexible. When I was out in Utah, I detected a propane leak, and this is why I like to have backup options for everything. So I had the outside Coleman stove because I couldn't use the inside stove. I have a backup heater in case the Truma heater didn't work. But things will go wrong, but be flexible. Just go with it.
Yeah, that's great advice. And no, to your point, with the community and the Facebook groups, it's amazing because you post an answer there and it's like real time. Within seconds, sometimes someone is offering an answer. You always have to be careful and make sure it's the right answer. But people are always offering advice. There's a team of folks back in Jackson Center, Ohio, who are answering the phones and emails to also help. And then most recently, Airstream has launched Airstream Academy, which is an online support resource that really starts to build out a lot of video content, how-to content, troubleshooting content to help the experience even more. So, and
I should have mentioned that because I do also use the Airstream online tutorials for the videos and all of their things that they have available to owners.
Awesome. Let's see here. So I think we have time for maybe 2 quick questions. Nancy wants to know, do you find that that one air conditioner is enough? Any...
Yes. I set it to 70 or 71 and I'm freezing, and I put my down quilt over me and I love it. My little nose gets cold, but it is a fabulous. It's not, it's loud. I have it running, so it's not that loud, but it is a workhorse and it cools very nicely.
And the final question here, there's some questions that we won't have time to get to in the chat. If you send an email to hello@airstream.com, HELLO@airstream.com, someone will answer your question and get back to you. So final question here, we have the promo code for Airstream Supply Company on the screen for folks who want to take advantage of that. But final question from Maria is, any regrets with the black interior? with heat and keeping it clean?
It's interesting. I've seen other people ask about this with it being black. I actually have white interior leather seats. So I had to kind of share a picture of, because I didn't have one of mine inside, but mine is white inside. It is black on the outside, however, and I have not found any problems from the heat or from heat building up in here. So far so good. It's so well insulated that if it's hot outside, it's eventually going to get hot in your RV, and any RV.
That's right. That's right. Well, Christine, we'll leave it there for today. I want to thank you so much for the time and thoughtfulness you put into the presentation today and sharing with the community. For folks who have joined us, keep an eye out for an email to this video. If we didn't answer your question, shoot us an email at hello@airstream.com, and keep an eye out for the 2-question survey that you'll see in about 15 minutes or less. Thanks, everyone.